Have you ever noticed that the funniest people are sometimes the ones hiding the most pain? The man who made the world laugh in the 90s once slept inside a van with his own family. And when he finally achieved everything, money, fame, status, he started saying something that shocked Hollywood. I wish everyone could be rich and famous so they would know that it's not the answer. But what really happened to Jim Carrey after he got everything? Stay with me until the end, because the last part of this story completely changes the way you see success. Before the lights of Hollywood, there was darkness. Long before becoming the man who made the world laugh, Jim Carrey was just a kid trying to keep his family afloat. His father lost his job. Stability disappeared. And for a time, the family actually lived inside a van. Pause for a moment. Imagine having talent and dreams, but going to sleep without knowing what tomorrow will bring. While other teenagers were worrying about parties or school, Jim was working as a janitor after classes to help pay the bills. And this is where something interesting begins. Even as a kid, he was already doing impressions, making classmates laugh, making teachers laugh. But do you think it was just natural talent? Or was it an emotional survival strategy? There's an interesting psychological pattern. Children who grow up in unstable environments often develop humor as a defense mechanism. When you can't control reality, you try to control people's reactions. If everyone is laughing, even for a few seconds, the fear gets smaller. But there's one detail almost nobody talks about. His father also dreamed of becoming a comedian. And according to Jim himself, his father chose a safe job that still didn't work out. That moment deeply shaped his mind because he learned a dangerous lesson. You can fail even when you play it safe. So why not take a chance on what you love? But that mindset also creates pressure. When you feel like you must succeed, not just for yourself, but for your entire family, the weight changes. Success stops being a dream. It becomes an obligation. And maybe that's where the almost overwhelming energy the world would later see was born. It wasn't just comedy. It was intensity, urgency. Someone who felt like failure was not an option. But here's the question that echoes through the rest of the story. When someone learns from an early age to wear a mask in order to survive, how do they discover who they really are? Hold on to that question, because years later, at the peak of fame, it comes back in a way no one expected. If childhood was about survival, 1994 was revenge. After years of rejected auditions and closed doors, Jim Carrey finally got a real opportunity. But nobody expected what was about to happen. First came Ace Ventura, Pet Detective. The studio had low expectations. Critics didn't like it. The humor was exaggerated, almost chaotic. But the audience? They loved it. Suddenly, that weird impression kid became a national sensation. And before the impact even slowed down, the second hit arrived. The Mask. This wasn't just comedy. It was explosive energy, impossible movements, a character literally putting on a mask to unleash an exaggerated version of himself. And look at the symbolism. A man who spent his life using humor as a shield now becomes world famous, playing someone who only feels powerful when he puts on a mask. Coincidence? Or an unconscious reflection? But still wasn't over. That same year, he released Dumb and Dumber. 3 movies, 3 box office hits, 1 single year. That almost never happens in Hollywood. From teenage janitor to one of the most talked about actors on the planet. But here's where the psychological tension begins. When you rise too fast, you don't have time to adapt. Fame didn't grow slowly. It exploded. $1 million salaries started appearing. Bigger contracts, massive expectations. But along with success came the labels. The industry stamped him with them. He's just a physical comedian. He's funny, but not deep. He's too exaggerated. Imagine hearing that after fighting so hard to prove your worth. For someone who grew up feeling like he had to succeed at all costs, being reduced to a caricature hurts. And that's where the next phase of tension begins. Because when the world starts seeing you as a character, you start wondering, do they like me? Or the mask? After 1994, Jim Carrey was already a phenomenon. $1 million salaries, sold-out theaters, global superstar status. But there's something cruel about rapid success. It can trap you. Hollywood began to see him as a highly profitable product. The man of crazy faces, wild voices, uncontrollable energy. And this is where a powerful internal conflict emerges. When you spend your whole life trying to be seen, and finally you are seen, but for the wrong reason. The question growing inside him was simple and dangerous. Are they laughing at me or with me? The industry wanted more of the same. More exaggeration, more physical comedy, more cartoon-like characters. But he wanted respect, and respect doesn't come with laughter. It comes with silence. So he did something many considered risky. He accepted a completely different role in The Truman Show. A man living in a fake reality, watched 24 hours a day without knowing his entire life is a television show. Think about that for a moment. An actor who feels like he's living as a public character. Playing a man who discovers his entire life is a performance. That's not just acting. It's almost a psychological mirror. The film changed everything. Critics who once dismissed him as a clown started using words like sensitive, restrained, and deep. But he still wasn't satisfied, because proving yourself once doesn't erase years of labels. Then came an even bigger risk. Eternal sunshine of the spotless mind. No explosive energy. No exaggerated comedy. Here, he's vulnerable, quiet, almost broken. A man trying to erase painful memories of a relationship. And look at the psychological layer behind it. Someone who spent his life creating versions of himself, playing a character who wants to erase parts of his own story. It's as if every role choice was an attempt to answer a deeper question. Who am I without the mask? After proving he was more than a comedian, after gaining respect with The Truman Show and moving audiences with Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, something started to change. Externally, everything looked perfect. Money, recognition, creative freedom. But internally, the silence became too loud. In interviews, Jim Carrey began talking about ego, identity, and illusion. He said that Jim Carrey was almost a character created for the world. Think about that. A man who spent decades playing roles, saying his own identity might be another role. There's a psychological concept called post-success identity crisis. It happens when someone reaches the top of the mountain and realizes they're still carrying the same questions from before. What if the problem was never the lack of success? What if the problem was trying to fill something internal with external validation? Interviews became deeper, more philosophical, and more uncomfortable for people expecting jokes. Some called it eccentric. Others said he had lost it, but maybe it was the opposite. Maybe, for the first time, he wasn't wearing a mask. After the whirlwind of success, after the pressure, after interviews that divided public opinion, Jim Carrey slowly stepped away from the spotlight. No dramatic announcement, no farewell tour, just silence. And when one of the biggest comedy stars in the world suddenly slows down, the question appears. Was he running away or finally choosing? Instead of blockbusters, he started dedicating time to painting. Yes, painting. While Hollywood waited for another hit movie, he was alone in art studios creating intense paintings about politics, identity, and emotion. Think about the symbolism. A man who spent decades being watched, now choosing a form of expression that requires no applause, no audience, no laughter, no box office numbers, just him and his mind, in a world obsessed with visibility. Stepping away can be a revolutionary act. The story of Jim Carrey is not just about comedy. It's not only about massive box offices, or the explosive year of Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, and the phenomenon of the mask. It's about identity, a boy who used humor to survive, a superstar who reached the top at record speed, an artist who realized that success doesn't answer life's deepest questions. While the world wanted more laughter, he wanted meaning. And maybe Jim Carrey's greatest impact isn't only in his movies, but in the courage to question his own mask. Now let me ask you something. If you achieved everything today, would it actually be enough? If stories that go beyond fame make you rethink success, identity, and power, subscribe now to discover the real stories behind stars like Jim Carrey, not just the headlines. See you in the next video.